A song comes on, and before you have decided anything at all, your foot is already tapping. Your head starts to nod. Maybe your shoulders join in, or your fingers drum against your leg. You didn't choose to do it. Your body simply locked itself to the beat, all on its own, with no conscious effort whatsoever. In fact, try the opposite. Put on a song you love and try to sit completely, perfectly still. No tapping, no nodding, nothing. For most people, it is almost physically uncomfortable, like holding back a sneeze. Something in you wants to move, needs to move, the instant it hears a rhythm. And we treat this as the most ordinary thing in the world. Of course we move to music, everybody does. But I want you to really stop and look at that, because that involuntary little foot tap is one of the strangest and rarest abilities in the entire animal kingdom. Your dog cannot do it. Your cat cannot do it. A chimpanzee, an animal that shares nearly 99% of your DNA, absolutely cannot do it. But, and this is where it gets genuinely bizarre, a parrot can. Which means you dance like a bird and not like an ape. And hidden inside that one ridiculous fact is a profound secret about what your brain actually is, why our species conquered the Earth, and what happens in your body every single time the beat drops. This is the story of why you cannot sit still. To feel how strange this really is, we first have to understand exactly what your body is doing. Scientists call it beat entrainment. It means taking an external rhythm, a beat you hear coming from outside you, and precisely, predictively, synchronizing your own body movements to it. And the key word there is predictively. You don't just react to each beat after it happens. Your brain locks onto the pattern, anticipates the next beat before it arrives, and lands your movement right on top of it. Tap, 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 perfectly in time, even guessing where the rhythm is going. That sounds simple, trivial even, because you have done it your whole life. But it turns out to be one of the most biologically rare talents on the planet. For a very long time, scientists believed it might be completely unique to humans, because when they looked at the rest of the animal kingdom, at the creatures we assume are the smartest and closest to us, they found something baffling. They found almost no one else who could do it. Think about that. Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, drum on hollow logs. They hoot. They are brilliant and social and clever. But you cannot get a chimp to bob its head in time to a song. Dogs and cats have lived alongside us for tens of thousands of years, evolving right there in our homes, surrounded by our music, and not one of them has ever tapped a paw to the beat. The ability that feels so automatic to you, so effortless that a toddler does it, is something our own primate family simply does not possess. And that is a genuine mystery. If moving to a beat were just a natural side effect of being smart, or social, or musical, then surely the chimps would have it. So what is the missing piece? What do you have that they don't? The first real clue came, of all places, from a video on the internet. A scientist named Anirudh Patel was studying rhythm when he saw footage of a sulfur-crested cockatoo named Snowball, perched on the back of an armchair, bobbing his head and kicking his feet in perfect time to a pop song. At first glance, just another funny animal video. But Patel realized this might be something extraordinary, and he designed a careful experiment to test it. He took the song Snowball loved, and he changed its speed, faster, then slower, across a whole range of tempos. And if Snowball were just flapping around randomly, or reacting to the humans in the room, the speed of the music shouldn't have mattered. But that is not what happened. When the song sped up, Snowball sped up. When it slowed down, Snowball slowed down. The bird was genuinely tracking the beat, adjusting his own body to stay locked onto the rhythm, exactly the way you do. It was real. A parrot could dance. And it wasn't just Snowball. A sea lion named Ronan learned to keep the beat to songs she had never even heard before. So here is the puzzle laid bare. A bird can dance. A sea lion can dance. But a chimpanzee, our own flesh and blood, cannot. What on earth do a parrot, a sea lion, and a human being have in common that a chimp does not? And this is where the answer becomes beautiful, because it reveals something you would never, ever guess. The thing that a parrot, a sea lion, and a human all share, and that a chimpanzee lacks, is that we are all vocal learners. A vocal learner is an animal that can hear a sound and then learn to reproduce it, to imitate it with its own voice. It's why a parrot can mimic human speech, why a sea lion can be trained on new sounds, and, most importantly, it is why you can learn to talk. You were not born knowing words. You heard the sounds of your language, and your brain learned to copy them with astonishing precision. A chimpanzee cannot do this. Its calls and hoots are largely innate, hardwired from birth, not learned by imitation. And here is the crucial part. To be a vocal learner, to hear a sound and instantly reproduce it, your brain needs an extremely tight, high-speed connection between the part that processes what you hear and the part that controls how you move. An auditory motor bridge, a direct line from the ears to the muscles. Now think about what dancing actually is. It is hearing a sound, the beat, and instantly, precisely moving your muscles in time with it. It is the exact same wiring. The same bridge between hearing and movement that lets you learn to speak is the bridge that lets you move to a rhythm. Dance, it turns out, may be a kind of glorious side effect, a happy accident that came free when our ancestors evolved the wiring for language. You can move to a beat for the very same reason you can talk, and the chimpanzee cannot dance for the very same reason it cannot speak. Let that sink in. The foot tap you do without thinking is powered by the same ancient machinery that gave humanity language itself. Every time you nod to a song, you are using the deep circuitry that built human speech. Now, to be fair to our cousins, the picture is not perfectly black and white. In recent years, researchers watching captive chimpanzees noticed something startling. Two of them, entirely on their own, began to sway and step in a loose, roughly synchronized, almost upright shuffle, a kind of primitive proto-dance. It was not locked to an external beat the way you lock onto a song, but it hinted at something tantalizing, that the raw ingredients of dance, the deep urge to move together with another body, may have been quietly simmering in our shared ancestry long before we ever split from the apes. What our lineage did was take that faint spark and, thanks to the new wiring for language, pour rocket fuel on it. The chimps, it seems, have an ember. We built it into a bonfire. But then our species did something that, as far as we know, no other animal on this entire planet has ever done. Because look closely and you find a strange division out there in nature. On one side, you have animals like the parrot and the sea lion, who can move their bodies to a beat, but who do not create rhythmic beats of their own in the wild. And on the other side, you have creatures like crickets and certain frogs, whole choruses of them, who can produce a steady, metronomic beat together, but who cannot dance to it. One group can move to a beat, but not make one. The other can make a beat, but not move to it. And then there is us. Humans are the only species we know of that evolved to do both at once. We can generate a complex rhythm with our hands, our feet, a drum, and simultaneously synchronize our entire bodies to it, together, in a group. We both make the music and become the dance. That combination, as far as all of science can currently tell, belongs to human beings alone. So the question deepens. It is one thing to have the wiring for it as a lucky accident of language, but dancing takes real energy, real coordination, and every human culture ever discovered, without a single exception, does it. When something appears in every society on Earth, from Arctic hunters to rainforest tribes to modern cities, that is a giant flashing sign that it is not just a fun hobby. It is doing something essential. So what is dance actually for? Why would evolution not just permit it, but seemingly push us toward it so hard that you cannot even keep your foot still? And you can watch this ancient wiring switch on almost at the very start of life. Long before a child can walk, before it can speak a single word, put on music and watch what happens. Babies bounce. They bob, they rock, They wave their arms, moving noticeably more to a rhythmic beat than to plain speech, and smiling more the better they manage to match it. Nobody teaches them this. It comes bundled in, standard equipment, from birth. And there is a reason it feels so good. When you find that perfect rhythm, the one that makes you simply have to move, your brain floods with dopamine, the very same reward chemical tied to food and love and every other thing evolution wants you to keep doing. Scientists even talk about a groove sweet spot. A beat that is too simple bores you. A beat that is too chaotic loses you. But one that sits right in between, predictable enough to follow, yet surprising enough to stay interesting, lights up the reward system and makes the whole body ache to move. Your pleasure in a good beat is not an accident. It is evolution paying you, in pure happiness, to do a thing it desperately wanted you to keep doing. And the sheer universality of it is staggering when you actually stop and look. The stamping, chanting war dance that fills a group with collective ferocity, spinning dancers whirling themselves into spiritual ecstasy, Arctic peoples drumming and dancing through the endless polar night, wedding circles, harvest dances, funeral processions moving in slow, solemn time, rain dances, victory dances, dances of grief and dances of joy. There is no corner of the human world, however remote or isolated, where explorers ever found a people who did not dance. A society without writing exists. A society without the wheel exists. A human society without dance has never, in all of history, been found even once. To find the answer, picture a scene from deep in our past. It is night, tens of thousands of years ago. A band of your ancestors is gathered around a fire. One of them begins to clap a rhythm. Another starts to stamp their feet. A voice rises in a chant, and then another joins, and another. And slowly, something remarkable happens. A dozen separate people, a dozen separate bodies with a dozen separate minds begin to move as one. Feet hitting the ground at the same instant, voices rising and falling together, hands clapping in a single, unified pulse. And in that moment, something shifts inside every one of them. Because we now know, from real experiments, exactly what synchronized movement does to the human brain. When people move in perfect time together, the boundary between self and other begins to dissolve. They report feeling closer, more connected, more like a single unit. They trust each other more. They cooperate more. They are even able to tolerate more physical pain. Moving as one literally rewires how a group of people feel about each other, welding a collection of individuals into a single, bonded whole. Now think about what that meant for survival. For our ancestors, the group was everything. A lone human on the ancient savanna was a dead human. Your entire survival depended on the strength, the trust, and the unity of your band. And here was a technology requiring no words that could take a scattered collection of individuals and fuse them into a tight, coordinated, deeply bonded team in a single night around a fire. A group that danced together was a group that trusted each other. And a group that trusted each other could hunt together, defend each other, and survive together, far better than a group of loosely connected strangers. Dance was not entertainment. Dance was social technology. It may have been one of the very first tools our ancestors ever invented for building a tribe out of individuals. The original team-building exercise, 10,000 generations before anyone gave it that name.
And there is a second edge to this. A group of people dancing in perfect, effortless unison is not only bonding on the inside, it is also sending a powerful message to the outside. Imagine you are a member of a rival band, watching from the darkness at the edge of the firelight, and you see 30 people moving as a single, flawless organism, perfectly coordinated, perfectly together. What does that tell you? It tells you these people are unified, they are organized, they can act as one. This is not a group you want to pick a fight with. Synchronized dance is a display of coalition strength, an ancient way of announcing to the world, look how many we are, and look how perfectly we move together. In a dangerous world, that signal alone could be the difference between being attacked and being left alone. And when our ancestors kept that synchronized movement going, hour after hour, deep into the night, something even more powerful took hold. Sustained, rhythmic, group dancing can push the human mind into genuinely altered states, a trance, a kind of ecstasy, as the body is flooded with its own natural painkillers, and the ordinary, everyday sense of self quietly loosens and slips away. This is not some modern invention of the nightclub. Cultures all over the world, on every inhabited continent, independently discovered that dancing together in rhythm for long enough opens a doorway into healing rituals, into religious ecstasy, into what they experienced as contact with spirits and gods. The war dance that emptied a warrior of fear before battle. The healing dance meant to shake sickness out of the body. The sacred dance that dissolved an entire village into a single, trembling, transcendent whole. Long before we had temples or scripture, we already had the oldest spiritual technology of all. A group of people, a driving beat, and the strange, reliable magic of moving as one until the boundaries of the self melt away. Dance was not only how we bonded with each other, it may also have been how we first reached out and touched the divine. There was one more quiet place this ancient gift shaped us: work. For thousands of years, humans set their hardest labor to a beat. Sailors hauling heavy ropes bellowed rhythmic shanties so they could pull as one. Field workers sang driving songs to keep dozens of hands moving in time. Soldiers march in step, hundreds of feet striking the earth in a single sound. A shared rhythm does not just bond people emotionally, it coordinates them physically, letting a group lift, pull, row, and haul together with a combined power that no scattered collection of individuals could ever match. The very same wiring that makes your foot tap under the table once let our ancestors move enormous weights, one perfectly synchronized heave at a time. Now, you might reasonably ask, if dance is this ancient and this important, where's the proof? Where are the fossils? And here we hit a beautiful problem. Dance leaves almost nothing behind. A stone tool survives for 1,000,000 years, but a body moving in the firelight vanishes the instant the movement stops. There is no fossil of a dance. And yet, the evidence is still there if you know where to look. The moment humans begin leaving behind art, we find them painting dancing figures onto rock walls, arms raised, bodies in motion, all around the world. We find ancient musical instruments, bone flutes carved 40,000 years ago, proof that structured music is deeply old. But the truth is, the very first instrument was never a flute or a drum. It was the human body itself. The first beat was a clap. The first drum was 2 hands or feet stamping on the earth. Before we had a single tool for making music, we had the rhythm section we were born with, and we used it to move as one. So let's come back to your body, right now, and that involuntary pull you feel when a good song plays. Scientists have peered inside the brain while people simply listen to a beat, sitting still, not moving a muscle, and they found something wonderful. Even when you hold perfectly still, the motor regions of your brain, the parts that control movement, light up in time with the rhythm anyway. Your brain is running the dance internally whether you let your body join in or not. The beat reaches directly into the machinery of your muscles and starts pulling the levers. That uncomfortable itch to move, that foot that taps against your will, is not a random quirk. It is that ancient auditory motor bridge, forged for language, firing exactly as it evolved to. It is the pull of the fire, the pull of the group, the pull to stand up and join the others in moving as one. It is 100,000 years old, and it is still wired into you, right now, waiting for a beat. We have changed the setting, of course. For most of human history, dance was a loud, communal, fire-lit event, the whole tribe together. Today, more often than not, we do it alone, with headphones in, a private rhythm no one else can hear. But every so often, you still get to feel the original version. Stand in a crowd at a concert, thousands of strangers, and watch as everyone's hands rise on the same beat, everyone's bodies move in the same wave. Thousands of separate people briefly becoming one enormous organism, pulsing in time. That feeling, that electric, joyful, almost overwhelming sense of unity, is not new and it is not shallow. It is one of the oldest highs a human being can experience. It is the tribe, reassembling itself for a few minutes in the dark, exactly as it has for 100,000 years. So the next time a song comes on and your foot starts tapping before you even notice, don't stop it.
understand what it really is. That tiny, involuntary movement is not nothing. It is a signal older than civilization, older than farming, older than the wheel, firing quietly in your body. It is the same impulse that pulled your ancestors up onto their feet around the fire and welded them into a tribe. When the beat reaches in and tugs at you, that is not merely a song you are hearing. It is the ghost of every fire your ancestors ever danced around, tapping you gently on the shoulder and asking you, as it has asked every human who ever lived, to stop being alone for a moment and to join. Because in the end, the beat was never really about the music at all. It was about becoming, for a few precious minutes, part of something far bigger than yourself.